Today's video is sponsored by Professional Photographers of America. Join a community of over 31,000 photographers. That's a higher population than my hometown. It includes equipment insurance, education, and business tools for small business owners like you and me. More on PPA here in a little bit. Let's just get straight into the steak sauce. The Sony A1 is a wild camera. It shoots 8K up to 30 frames per second, 4K up to 120, and 50 megapixel photos that'll make any lens quiver with quality. As an A7S3 owner, I felt personally attacked by the A1, but instead of just ditching my S3 for an A1, I decided to rent the A1, test the differences between the two cameras, and bring you along for the ride. Thanks for being here. I'm Zach Mayfield. I'm mostly a video boy, so we're gonna start there. Now, the elephant in the room is, of course, the 8K 420 10-bit internal full frame footage. I was pretty damn excited to give this a test, and as you can see, it looks really nice. When you slap the 8K footage on a 4K timeline and compare it directly to the A7S III, it doesn't look drastically better, so that did calm down my wallet just a little bit. Obviously, you can punch in by 100% on a 4K timeline and essentially get yourself a second camera angle. I can see this being extremely useful for interviews or talking heads, like this one, which I am shooting in 8K for a YouTube video. Don't judge me. What surprised me the most about the 8K footage was how it handled on my computer. I'm using the super affordable M1 MacBook Pro, and the footage was simple to work with. The file sizes aren't ridiculously large compared to the 4K files, which was very surprising. And somehow the footage plays back in Premiere Pro decently well. Typically I shoot in 4K 10-bit 420 on my A7S III, which plays back like butter on this computer. Okay, quick editor's note. I've been working on this video all day, and once you get the 8K into your timeline, even if it's a 4K timeline, it can get kind of boggy on the M1. So it's not like perfectly buttery smooth. The 4K 420 from the A7S III is way easier to edit on my M1. Now, unfortunately, there are some pretty significant crop factors you have to consider when it comes to these 8K and 4K modes. And for all of these tests, there is zero stabilization applied in camera, straight up footage from the camera, okay? On the A1, 8K takes full advantage of the width of the sensor. When you switch over to 4K 24 and 60p, there's a significant crop, and 4K 120 also has a crop, but not quite as bad as the 4K 24 and 60p. This kind of bums me out because it pigeonholes the shooter into only using 8K if you want to get the full width of this full frame sensor. The A7S III is slightly different. The 4K 24 and 60p both utilize the full width of the sensor, and 120p has a slight crop, but nothing crazy. If you're like me and you were kind of just wishing that the A1 is like the A7S III with the added bonus of 8K and 50 megapixel photos, well, unfortunately it's not that simple. But before we get into all the crazy photography comparisons between these two cameras, let's hear a short message from today's sponsor, Professional Photographers of America. Thank you to PPA for sponsoring today's video, and make sure to watch this ad if you're a true homie of this channel, because I only support and work with companies that I think will actually benefit you. So here we go. In today's lesson, we'll learn about their indemnification trust. Big words, I know, but luckily I prepared a script for this class. Now listen up. Oh, you lost your data and you need some recovery services? Boom, indemnification trust. Uh-oh, your client's upset and things get legal? Boom, indemnification trust. As a PPA member, all you gotta do is hit them up and they'll provide advice, direct intervention, and even cover certain costs. And luckily, they're one of the most experienced firms when it comes to these kinds of situations, so they have your back. Now, the hope is that we never have to use these resources, but having security while running a small business is a smart move. I've been really happy with my membership, and I just want to say thank you to all of you who have already signed up using my links in the description. You have no idea how much it actually helps me out. At the very least, use the link below to check out their website for a ton of creative resources. All right, let's get back into the camera nerdiness. The A7S III shoots 12 megapixel photos, and the A1 shoots 50 megapixel photos. Pretty big difference there in the specs. But how about you look at some of these photos side by side and guess which camera is which? Time for the big reveal of what camera A was.
Nice shot!
I was pleasantly surprised with how comparable these photos are. And really the differences show up when you punch in like a pixel peeping fiend. When we zoom in, we can see that those extra megapixels on the A1 give us extra detail, obviously, which is pretty apparent on the fine lines and edges. Overall, things have a smoother detail because of that added information, and I think the A1's photos look fantastic. Thankfully, because it's like a $6,000 camera, so it better look freaking good. However, the A7S III's sensor is actually looking pretty dang good for 12 megapixels. When zoomed in, the lines and edges are more rough due to less information, but interestingly, it makes the photo appear slightly more crispy when zoomed out. This all comes down to your needs, what you shoot, and your personal preference. Your eyeballs. And you can always add softness or sharpening to these photos. I didn't add any sort of sharpness to these photos. I just did a very basic edit in Lightroom and then exported them at full quality. My eye definitely gravitates toward the A1, but the A7S III by no means looks bad. I was expecting the A1 to look way better than the A7S III, and I feel good that the S3 is looking pretty tasty compared to the A1. I know these tests were pretty simple and bare bones, but it did help my wallet kind of settle down and just stay in my pocket. It was trying to lash out for a while and I had to slap it a few times. But for real, it's so stinking easy to get sucked into the newest camera gear or this thing that's slightly better than the thing you have already, when in reality, most of us probably don't need to upgrade our camera, if that's what this comparison can even be called, because you could argue that these cameras are used for two very different things. It just all comes down to what you do and what camera you need. But what I can do is encourage you to find something that's right for you, make a smart financial decision, and get as good as possible with that camera. I remember my old days with the GH5, I had it for years, and I loved just trying to make the images look better and better every single time I shot with it. And my first image to my last image that I shot with that camera were vastly different, and I'm proud of that. For me, I love talking about cameras, and it happens to be my job right now, so I'm trying to do that in a way where I'm not just encouraging people to go buy the newest stuff, because that's not smart. Make sure to like the video, because today and today only, one like equals one A7S IV that shoots 12K 500 frames per second for $6. Subscribe to become a subscriber and join our Discord server, the Zachy May fam, to make some camera friends or get some feedback on your work. It's a great place. Check out my other fun stuff like Fuji Juice and Cranon hats, my Instagram, and thank you so much to PPA for sponsoring today's video. I'm gonna head out and chug a bottle of A1 steak sauce. See ya.